Hey everyone, today we are going to talk about the importance of travel insurance. Have you ever been on a trip? Have you ever thought about getting travel insurance, but you were on the fence about whether or not to get it? Today we're going to talk about maybe the reasons why you should or should not get travel insurance. Let's go talk about it. Hey everyone, John here from Bite Size Cruises. Welcome back to the channel. If you are interested in cruising and this awesome cruise life, you've come to the right place. We put out a brand new video every single day about cruising, so please peruse our library of cruise content. Anyway, today we are going to talk all about travel insurance, not just for cruising, but for any type of travel that you're doing. We're going to talk about maybe the reasons why or why not you may need it, and we're going to tell you about instances where it may help you or come in handy. So first, let's talk about just some brief overarching things that I've seen pop up recently. A few of them are, one, which is probably going to be a very common one, someone wants to cancel their cruise. Not sure if they're ever going to be able to make it, and they just don't want to be burdened with having to worry about the cancellation fees. Two would be, I've seen people who've had deaths in the family or medical issues or emergencies, and they weren't able to travel, and then they cancel their cruise or their trip and just think that they're going to get all of their money back because the cruise line or whatever trip provider is going to feel bad for them, which those companies don't. Not a big shock, right? They're big companies driving their bottom line profits, and you're really not dealing with individuals at that point. You're dealing with corporate scripts and structures. Maybe another reason to use a travel agent. But also for even things like losing your luggage or just getting sick or hurt while you're on a trip. Anyway, let's go through all the reasons you may or may not need insurance. So travel insurance is coming at a cost. Depending on the travel insurance brand, it may be based on your age and your location, maybe where you're going, it may affect the pricing. Look, I'm not going to be here giving you examples of what insurance company you should go with. That's a personal decision. You need to look at all different types of companies. And insurance is commoditized, right? So there's going to be all different types of insurance. They're not all built the same, so please review them. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples. So for travel insurance, when it comes down to your provider, you can buy it with the cruise line. You could buy it from a separate company. Again, you have to make the decision whether or not one of those is better than the other for you. But basically, we want to be looking at several things. The first is going to be trip cancellation, right? So if you decide that you're not going to go on your trip, let's talk about for any reason first. So if you just decide, I'm not going on this trip because I don't feel like going. It might be 2 weeks before, you're just not going. Keep in mind, if you're purchasing this type of travel insurance, it needs to be purchased before your final payment, and it is generally very expensive. It generally covers about 95% of your total outlay of costs. So generally, when you go on a cruise or any trip, you're gonna pay a deposit. A lot of times, if you cancel before final payment, some providers will allow you a full refund, some will not. It depends on what kind of fare you booked as well. And then after final payment, there are cancellation rules as you go through. So maybe in the first 20 or 30 days, it's 25%, then 50, then 75, then 100 the closer you get to the cruise. Some people maybe have a job that it's unpredictable, or maybe you're trying to apply for a job. Maybe you're interested in just maybe I'm just not going to go. I don't feel like going. Maybe you just want to save money. You have something that pops up. You can purchase cancel for any reason insurance. Again, it covers about 95% of your cruise fare, but it is going to be a large percentage. It's going to be a chunk of money. Generally speaking, I see this, and it is a good percentage of your cruise, maybe like 10, 15% of whatever your fare is in order to cover this. Again, all insurance is an actuary, so they want to make sure that they get money back, and you really don't want to be willy-nilly canceling your trips anyway. So next up, you have cancel for a valid reason insurance, which is generally covered under most insurance binders. In this, you are going to have illnesses or an emergency that affects you. So maybe you break your leg, or you tear a ligament in your knee, whatever the case may be. Maybe you have a death in your immediate family. Maybe you have that you have to care for somebody that had a heart attack or a stroke in your immediate family. Those type of things are generally covered with standard or whatever type of cruise insurance. Remember, you have to go through all the fine print here on your cruise insurance to see which ones cover which. A lot of times there are going to be like essentials, there's going to be like a standard or a classic package, there's going to be an ultra package, and then there's going to be your cancel for any reason. So there's a lot of different packages. Make sure you go through it. But generally speaking, those are going to be covered in a standard insurance package. But again, you're going to have to fill out forms, you're going to have to prove, and there are things that we don't want to think about or that we don't want to do. We don't want to have to provide a death certificate or a doctor's note or those type of things. But keep in mind, you are going to have to prove those things. It is an insurance company. You can't just say, hey, I had a death in the family, and they're going to give you your money back. They're going to ask for proof. So next one is medical emergencies. This is my biggest one that I recommend travel insurance for. So here's what you're going to come up against. If you fall on a cruise ship, if you have seizures, the guy we just read a story about a few weeks ago on Royal Caribbean had seizures. He had to go to medical on the ship. He did not have travel insurance. They charged him. They would not let him leave the ship without charging his CPAS card, which is what they do for all of your expenses, not just medical. But that will come out of your CPAS card. You will have to pay for services rendered before you leave the ship. It's in all your cruise documents. I know everybody gets pissed off about it and upset about it, but this is another reason why you really have to read your cruise contract, make sure, I mean, you know, I know not everybody's going through it with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure you know the big talking points on your cruise contract. It's extremely important that you are aware of these things. Yet another good reason to use a travel agent. If you are on the cruise ship and say, for instance, you have a stroke, someone in your party has a stroke, and they need to be medevaced off the ship by the Coast Guard, that is generally somewhere, could be from $25,000 to $100,000, depending on services rendered. That is lifelong medical debt. So if you have travel insurance, you want to make sure those things are covered in your travel insurance. That repatriation or medevacing off the ship, generally you'll see it in your binder. You have to ask, is that covered? Make sure it's covered. That's what we're talking about. Also, if you are abroad, I don't know, it doesn't matter to me whether you're in Mexico, whether you are in Canada, whether you're in, you know, name it, the Mediterranean, your health insurance is not going to be covered there. I think we forget that as Americans sometimes, even in the Bahamas, different places, right? So you want to make sure you have this travel insurance to make sure that if you need medical assistance, if you're on an excursion, you fall, God forbid you get into a car accident or anything like that, this is why you have travel insurance. I know when we're young, I never had travel insurance when I was young. We're all dumb when we're young, right? We think we're young, we don't need it, we're not having any medical issues. And then the older you get, now I don't go anywhere without travel insurance. So, just like any other insurance, right? We can hate the premiums. We can think that it's kind of scammy or snake oil or whatever it is, but you don't need travel insurance until you need travel insurance. And when you need it, you're really going to need it. So I absolutely do recommend having travel insurance. You don't have to buy it through me. You don't have to buy it through the cruise lines. You can buy it through whoever you want to buy it through, but you should absolutely have it. Next up, we want to talk about things that maybe you don't know that are covered under travel insurance, like missing a port. You can fill out a claim for missing a port and get some of your money back. You could fill out a claim for losing your luggage, for your flight being delayed, for having to get another flight, for having to get a hotel. All these things you can look at your insurance rider and see if they are covered on there. Travel delays and interruptions. Like I said, maybe if you have some kind of delay due to like a hurricane or a natural disaster or something like that. Some of those are not covered, some of them are. Things you want to look through and see if they are covered, because you can get money back for those things, just a little bit of paperwork, and you can get some money back. Next up is personal liability. So if you trip on something and break it, if you kick something, if you damage something accidentally, one of those things you can look into for your insurance coverage is personal liability coverage. And to me, the biggest thing that you want for travel insurance is insurance in and of itself is just peace of mind. You know that this 100, 200, 300 bucks, whatever it is that you spend on insurance, you know that you're okay and you're covered if something happens. Because believe me, if you are on one of these cruises and something happens, you will realize very quickly that you don't have travel insurance. And then that is when you need it the most. So let's talk about some common misconceptions. People think that it's super expensive. It's generally not. I just did a quote the other day for people that are going on a long cruise in the Yacht Club, which is MSC's Suite Experience. It's like a $15,000 cruise. The insurance is $748. Now, $748 sounds like a lot of money, but when you're in that type of, you're spending that type of money and it's covering your entire experience, that's pretty good. Again, I have another one that I just quoted for people. The room's about $4,000. Their insurance is about $123 per person. So it's not the end of the world. I know that it's an additional cost, but it will save you if you need it. So I highly encourage you to read up as much as you can. We're gonna have somebody on our live stream in a few weeks talking to you about all different types of insurance coverage to keep you informed. Do your due diligence. This is not a sales pitch for you to buy insurance. We're not insurance salesmen. We are travel agents, so we do have an offering of travel insurance. That's absolutely not what this is about. Again, you can buy it from anyone or anywhere. Do your research. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples. If you have any questions about insurance, please feel free to comment below. I'm happy to answer or try to answer those questions. If you have comments, if you've had an experience with travel insurance, please comment as well. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you got anything out of this, we would love for you to like and subscribe to our video. Thanks so much. Happy cruising. We'll see everybody tomorrow.